Persona 3 and 4 both take place in a small vacuum. Inaba was a small town with little interactions with the big city, while Persona 3 ends with most people forgetting about Nyx looming in the sky above the masses. In this way, Persona 5 pushes boundaries. The Phantom Thieves affect not only the small portion of Tokyo they work in, but all of Japan. The public's overall opinion of the group is shown every single day in the bottom right corner whenever Morgana forces Akira to sleep. Even Shido's calling card was designed to be seen by as many people as possible. Everybody in Japan, and probably even the whole world, knows about the Phantom Thieves, and that's my biggest problem with the game. In Persona 3, the Kojiro group is introduced. With their immense amount of wealth, the Kojiro group dedicates themselves to finding and stopping shadows after accidentally releasing quite a few onto the world. From the creation of the Invoker to the anti-shadow suppression weapons like Aegis and Labrys, the family dedicated themselves to finding and defeating shadows. Even after Nyx was sealed away, Mitsuru created the Shadow Operatives, a group designed to find shadows and Persona-related incidents so they could intervene. She, along with Akihiko, Aegis, and Labyrinth, work endlessly to find any clues to shadow activity, while the other ex-members of SEAS are ready to help at a moment's notice. And while not working in an official capacity, the investigation team has been shown to come together to take out any shadows they come across, doing anything required, even dancing. So, how is it that neither the Shadow Operatives nor the investigation team heard about what was happening in Tokyo? In Persona 4 Arena, the Kojiro group were shown to have learned about the events in Inaba, which, to the public, seemed to be just 3 strange murders, one of which being a copycat killer, and a string of unrelated kidnappings that were basically just teenagers seeming to have run away for a few weeks before coming back home, and they still chose to investigate. Compared to the rumors that the Phantom Thieves and multiple influential figures suddenly having a change of heart after being targeted by the groups, the events of Persona 5 are even more obviously connected to the Shadows, especially because of the mental shutdown cases that Akechi had been causing for years before Akira even came to Tokyo. With so much commotion surrounding the Phantom Thieves, it doesn't make sense that the Kojiro group never even came by to knock on LeBlanc's door. But it's not just the events happening in Japan that should have drawn the team's attention. What happened to Margaret, Elizabeth, or Theodore that none of the other Velvet Room attendants reacted to Igor being kidnapped? Even if the others were somehow also kidnapped, even though Margaret's stats alone are a lot stronger, Elizabeth has long since left the Velvet Room in her journey to find a way to save Minato. Even with Elizabeth being separated from her master, she's shown to be able to sense and hunt down wild cards and other shadow-related activity. So why would Elizabeth not have reacted to what was happening in Tokyo, to her siblings, or to her old master? Elizabeth would be able to contact SEAS, thanks to her relationship with Aegis that was established in the answer, and SEAS would be able to contact the investigation team. If Margaret wasn't kidnapped, she would also be able to establish contact with the investigation team, with Marie being considered canon as she appears in both Persona Q and Q2. The rest of the investigation team have to know Margaret, since she was pivotal moment in getting the characters into the dungeon. With all of this, it doesn't make sense that the Phantom Thieves would be the only ones able to protect Tokyo. If the game had been in a separate arc, it might have made sense, but with posters of Rize and references to Akihiko, Naoto, and Yukari through the entire game, and the events of Persona Q, it's clear that they all take place in the same universe. There are a couple of reasons that this could have happened. For one, Atlus could have been attempting to outdo themselves after Persona 4 was dubbed the best RPG ever published, or it could have to do with the long production time. After all, Persona 5 was in production since 2008, with more work and effort being put into it after 2011 because Catherine had then been published. Then it was meant to originally release in 2014, but that obviously didn't happen. Instead, a lot of story was altered, edited, and rearranged until it was finally released in 2016. During that time, Atlus published Arena, Ultimex, Persona Q, and Dancing All Night. Each of these games expanded the scope of the universe and added lore that wasn't there during the beginning stages of productions. So, in a way, it makes sense that there would be so many inconsistent elements in Persona 5 in the lore. But with something so big, it feels like a huge oversight for none of the characters from Persona 3 or 4 to have made an appearance in the game. This is a problem that exists in a lot of longer-running series. With the pressure to do bigger and better, the integrity of the piece can be destroyed. It's not just Persona that has this problem. While I love Falcom and the Trails series, Trails of Cold Steel 4 suffered by feeling bloated, with 2 other groups of characters joining the already overflowing group that is Class 7, no one really had time to breathe or do their own thing, evolve, be put in the spotlight. It just felt rushed and awkward because of that. To be honest, I think there are a lot of problems with Persona 5 that probably could be traced back to the fact that they had to make countless cuts and rewrites to fit in the changing times. But as somebody who's been a fan of the Persona series for a lot longer than someone my age probably should be, I played it way too young. The way that P5 plays with the lore, cuts it up and tries to make it something else, just feels wrong. Admittedly, Persona 5 is a good game in comparison to most games. As a standalone game that didn't have the Persona brand tied to it, I probably wouldn't have as many gripes with it. Just, gripe about the fact that you're weirdly able to date a lot of adults as a teenager, and even your teacher, even though Persona 3 touched on the fact that why that was really creepy. It's totally fine. It's the expectations built by the other Persona games that make it so bad. If it wasn't Persona 5, I'd be annoyed at characters being presented as perfectly perfect, but it wouldn't be as huge a strike on the game. It's only because I expect more of Atlus in the series that it bothers me as much as it does, which is ironically the problem that this all starts with. Atlus knew the expectations already on the series, so they tried to compensate for that in the story by making it bigger and better. That's a problem that can be found in all art. With the pressure to succeed, to keep from being seen as boring, cracks begin to form in the integrity of the story. So even though it bothers me, I can understand how these problems appeared in Persona 5. I also understand that there's a level of it is on me because of my own expectations going into a piece. I have a similar problem with the Studio Ghibli films where I heard so much about them and they got amped up so much, and then I felt disappointed because while the animations were beautiful and amazing, I had expected more from the stories. And maybe it was just the ones I watched, but the stories felt a little lackluster. There's this weird relationship with audience and artist that causes a destruction and friction in the stories and art that something that we need to keep as the audience in mind and as the creator in mind so that we can ensure that the integrity of the thing that is being built is protected. Now with the video done, just a small disclaimer that as this is a rant video, these are my personal opinions. If you love Persona 5 and think it's the best game, that's awesome. I was mainly using it as a vessel to discuss the idea of expectations and the pressure it places on both the artist and the viewer as it kind of came up in the end. Feel free to talk about it in the comments. Keep in mind, everybody gets to have their own opinions. Be respectful for one another. Persona 5 is a good game, it wasn't one of my favorites, and it felt like a letdown, and I'm rambling now, and I'm not good when I'm off script now. I need to go. I'm bad at this. Goodbye.